I do believe.
Heck yes, episode 7.
Good Lord.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tavern Talk, episode 7, with me, the better one, and with me as always.
The worst one, like, let's just say it, everyone's favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll say that. But yes, everyone, hello, welcome back. We are doing episode 7 of Tavern Talk. Um, Hope you all enjoy. But before anything, Um, I think we need to talk about a certain little Streamlabs Ultra.
Oh, yes, yes. Like we cannot recommend them enough, guys. You can have custom widgets, add your social media links. They have all kinds of mixer sources. They have overlays galore. They have different backgrounds of different types. Anything to fit what you want for your content and your channel to reflect, and a little something of you. And we cannot recommend it enough. And we'll leave our link in the description
Like we
on the
always
video
do.
below, like we always do.
Mm-hmm.
And please use our link to start your streaming content today. And please, by all means, send us your first video of what you create. We'd love to check out everyone's individuality and see what's going on. That would be amazing, and it would help out the channel so much. So please, if you guys want and you want to start your content and your streaming journey today, use our link, and it really will help us out. We cannot stress that enough.
Absolutely. Please, please, please. Um, yeah. So as it lists on our Streamlabs Ultra, like this is the loading page. Just please join using our link. If you want to subscribe for Streamlabs Ultra, if you have the inkling to become any sort of streamer or video eh, recorder for YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, possibly Instagram, a bunch of different locations where you can stream. Please use Streamlabs. It is very easy to use, very user friendly, and I mean, it only takes the worst one about maybe like 3 hours to set up all of his scenes again after he changes it.
Listen, there is a reason I'm the worst one, okay? Listen, shut up.
Yep. And I'm gonna go ahead and switch it to just chatting.
Okay.
But yes. Oh, where were we? Worst one? Oh yeah, I remember. We had just gotten uh access to a certain ship. Access to a certain ship that we had, you know.
Yes. Oh, and I almost forgot. Please forgive me, everyone
Mm-hmm.
that was involved with it. I have to give a particular shout out to Moose Cow 2009. Thank you for following. You know who you are. I know who you are. It is very lovely and I'm very thankful that you did join us. And then also your boy Brad, how you doing? And Prototype, you know who you are. I appreciate the following. And I think that's it.
Wow, at least you didn't mess that up.
Oh, and Baiga Artwork.
Oh, nice.
What's up?
Well, at least you didn't mess any of that up. But anyway,
Uh, oh, I butchered it, but that's my way.
oh, I know. I was trying to give you an out. Like I always do, and this amazing segue into the continuation of our The Unnaturals campaign. So,
Oh, yeah.
our heroes had just left the Feywild on a plane shifting skyship. That is very much in the style of a pirate galley ship. Very much. It matches it almost to a T. And they find within the ship and decorations along the ship that this ship used to be a sort of like, I guess you would call it like a semi for, and like the trailer to carry a bunch of carnival gear, as it used to be used for a very specific carnival known as the Witchlight Carnival, which in my realm, the Witchlight Carnival went out of, not out of business, it just stopped happening. Um, no one knows truly what happened to it. The entire carnival was ripped asunder by this catastrophe event that just kind of like,
This catastrophe event
yeah,
that just
yeah, that just kind of exploded it away. So uh they had what is left over from it. The ship was rebuilt, it's refurbished, it's certified used essentially. It got a really good score on the ship facts, the Carfax for the ship,
yeah,
and they set off. And the first place they visit is the Elemental Chaos. Um, they activate the ship use with T's help. He is very in tune in how to like allowing the ship to planar travel. But beyond that, the ship holds a lot of mystery because no one truly, the creators of the ship haven't existed in centuries, so no one truly knows how to like work the ship other than fly, not fly, plane shift, not plane shift. And it takes a lot of energy to for the ship to be used again. So it's not like every hour they can just shift to a new plane. It basically, when they reached a plane, the ship would naturally charge its gems with the ambient energy within the plane itself. So for instance, the plane of water, it would charge from the rapids and the waves. The plane of air, it would charge by the wind blowing through its sails. The plane of fire, the heat, and the plane of earth, it would be in the plane of earth, it would be um just the ambient sort of like life and additional gemstones that they find within like mineralist sort of like caverns that they could harvest and then feed to the gem itself. um so there are ways to charge it. There's multiple ways. I mean, they even tried charging it with magic, but we'll get to that, won't we, Val? um
yes,
but essentially, they made it to the elemental chaos. They landed on, I'm pretty sure they landed on the ocean. Like you guys spawned in the middle of the ocean, in the water plane, no less, if I'm remembering
yes.
correctly. And you guys spawned
My
in.
nightmare.
You spawned in, and the sea was calm. It was
Yes,
nighttime, and
yes.
you
It was
could
actually
see
my nightmare.
the stars and the celestial bodies that move around the on the outer side of the elemental chaos reflected onto the sea, and it was beautiful. It was like a painting. Like the sea was so still. There was It was just perfectly mirroring what was happening. The ship itself does not need wind to propel itself. It can propel itself at a very slow moving rate that does not drain the ship's charge. Or they could, if they want it to go faster, then that's when it'll start draining it. Or they can use wind power on top of this, or they could get out the massive oars and sort of paddle boat the ship. They chose to just let the ship sort of drift and sort of like be taken. But they realized that there were no waves, so the ship was not being moved unless that slow moving. It was like I believe I said it's the ship moves as fast as the fastest party member, which was 30 feet. So the ship was just
Just
slowly
chugging
moving.
along.
Just
Yeah, just chugging along.
but by doing that, they did not use any energy off the gems. It was just stagnant. The gem would slowly, hopefully, recharge. The only waves that they were producing was from the ship itself as it would sail through the ocean. But of course, those waves are going out from the ship, not causing the ship to rock and gain that kinetic energy. So it's one of
There's
those it's one of those things, that they had to deal with, and they just I remember you guys saw this beautiful picturesque scene. Val was very much like, ew, water, disgusting, get it away from me. Everyone else was like, oh wow, this is so beautiful and everything. And what was going through Val's mind just being on the elemental chaos?
Not again. Not again. Pretty much was his thought process was never no, 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 no.
Well, alrighty then. I do remember Toph loved it. He was having the time of his life on the elemental chaos again. Toph started developing a sort of rash at this point along the
Oh
back of his
yeah.
neck. Um, that didn't really seem to bother him so much, but the rest of you, it looked like dead skin was flaking off.
Yeah, yeah, like it like dry skin pretty much, yeah.
But you also all got some fun items from Gladys, or as we know, the audience, Faddis. Um,
Fake it's fakest, fakest.
Faddis sounds funner. Um, but as you guys start delving into your gifts, because you guys reach a point where like, okay, we're not in any danger at this moment. Let's just kind of delve into this. You guys find a I believe it was called a detonation orb. I think that's what it was. Yes, 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 yes. Detonation orb of water and fire. I'm pretty sure. Detonation orb. Which are very, very powerful elemental orbs. They're devastation orb. That's what it is. I didn't think that was right. Yeah, devastation orb, and you guys had a water orb. Um, and essentially, these two orbs by themselves are what is needed to basically jumpstart the planes of water, fire, earth, and air. But you guys only had water and fire right now, I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure
Mhm,
you guys only had water and fire right now. Maybe you just
yes.
had water. I can't remember. But you guys had a orb for sure. You had one. And it was essentially you guys had been told through Gladys and everything like the elemental chaos, the elemental planes, they are dying. You're not sure what's causing them to cease to die, but the primordial that runs those planes, not Titan, I want that very clear. It was not a Titan. It was like a primordial, very ancient elemental. It's something the Titans left to like guard over their home planes, essentially like the god of that specific plane for all intents and purposes. Um, but it's obviously not a god, it's a primordial. So they essentially come together and they're like, okay, we need to go and sort of figure this out a little bit and figure out why the planes are dying and what's going on with them and stuff such like that. And everyone's like, yeah, okay, let's go do that. And they find in the I think it was the portable hole. They find the devastation orb water. They also find a music box that we've talked about. What's in the music box? But Tat was immediately told to destroy it. They
What's
also
in the box?
what's in the box? What's in the box? It's just a box. They also find another box that has weird infernal symbols on it. Remember that one?
Yeah, yeah.
They find that box, and then they also find a bunch of useless junk like chairs, a mattress, some pillows, some blankets, extra rations. Nothing else of like true value. And then I had them roll a perception check when they were in the portable hole, and they didn't roll high enough because perception, sadly, was not this group's forte. Val can investigate. Yes, 110% agree. Val can investigate. But Kelly Tat was the only one that can perceive, and she was just not focused on what was in there. She got in there, pulled the jewelry box. She was told to get out and to destroy the jewelry box, and she's like, all right. And she hopped out. Um, so they didn't have anyone that could perceive per se in the beautiful uh portable hole. So they continue on.
Yeah, yet. The key word here is yet.
Yet. They all get out. T is trying to like find his place on the ship because he's never been with such like he's never worked with people before. He's always been on missions by himself, and he's never been in such like when he has worked in groups, it's always been like a massive operation. This was a very small operation. This was like five other people, not including the two people in the kitchen helping Tat cook. This was five other people. And T was like, I don't feel comfortable. I'm gonna go find a room and I'm just gonna go to sleep and hope this nightmare ends because I don't know why I'm here. Um,
Yeah,
but essentially, as the party continues down the water plane, they see beautiful things begin to happen, and eventually, at one point, Val's the first one that senses it, but the ship lurches to a stop, a
yeah,
complete stop. And Val goes outside. He sees the sun is just cresting over the horizons, shining a beautiful light onto the ocean that is still perfectly still. For those of you that don't know, still water isn't good. It's not good at all. It is ocean sized, so it's going to take a while for anything bad to happen, but it's still water. It is not moving at all. There is no waves, there's no tidal currents, nothing. It is completely still. Um, and they eventually like all begin to wake up as Val sort of like alerts his party. He's like, "Hey, we stopped." And everyone's like, "What do you mean we stopped?" And he's like, he just kind of like gestures around the ship. We're not moving. And
yeah.
T goes to investigate. Everyone goes to investigate, and then all of a sudden they hear a voice emanating from the ship, and it says, "Beginning descent." And everyone was just like, "What?" And then they just immediately the ship begins to into the ocean, and it begins to like full on Titanic dive into the ocean, and Val is freaking out.
Oh yes, like that, like a dog in a cage, just slowly going down with the ship. It's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, he's going full hyperventilation mode. He doesn't know what to do and is freaking out. Everyone else is like, I'm sure we'll be fine. Tat casts water breathing on everyone using her cards. So they got that covered. And she's like, it's okay. We can breathe underwater. It's fine. You're not going to drown. It's all good. Um, but that barely helps Val get over his fear because then as the water rises up to the deck of the ship, immediately they see this like sort of like pulse of energy as the water collapses against the ship, and they see this projected shield wrapped around the ship, and the ship begins to move under the water submarine style, completely concealed underwater. And they're like in their own bubble on the ship deck, and it's beautiful as they swim down far very deep into the ocean. They see schools of fish. They still see fish and like aquatic life down there and like swimming past them and everything. So the ocean is alive. It's just not producing waves or anything like or like tidal waves or currents or anything like that. It's just like the water is dead, but the things inside of it are still living. But they had this very beautiful, serene experience where they saw schools of fish past them, underwater plant life, structures, ships that have crashed within the water plane or were brought here, islands that were completely submerged under the water that still have plant life growing on them from when they were completely swallowed up by the ocean, from when they were part of the earth or fire plane, or maybe a mixture of both. They see some underwater sort of like volcanic geysers happen, and they just continue going further and further until finally the ship says, uh, raising, and the ship raises up so that way it can replenish the air supply on the ship while in the bubble, and it has to do this once every 8 hours now. And they had been sailing for 8 hours underwater, and off in the distance, Val and Tat see a ship, but not just one ship. They see many ships,
40 minutes.
100 ships, hundreds and hundreds of ships, all connected, all merged, all sort of like misshapenly connected and put together.
Awesome. We're gonna get so many.
Yeah. And
Uh, Just real quick,
Yeah.
I just want to sit there and say that this is a proof that our DM is evil, and I will be right back. But I do have a filler stand-in. I am the worst one, and I have filling in for me my beloved, beautiful one, standing in for me while I take care of something.
You're fine. But yeah, as they sort of sail to this massive city on the ocean, essentially made of pirate ships and in destroyed ship parts that seem to be connected together by wood and other shrapnel pieces that just float along the ocean. They see full on wooden homes that were washed away by the water, by the ocean, that have been fully connected to these ships to build homes, and massively they are connected through crow's nests, through the galleys of the ship, through the decks of the ship. They're all interconnected with rope bridges, and it's beautifully crafted. And they make their way over there and sail over there, and the party is in need of some supplies at this point. And they like ask if we can, step up on the ship. And they are greeted by this person that speaks over, and he's like, um who goes there, and like a very gruff, sort of like
What do you guys
gaunt
do?
gaunt
With
voice.
chat with the group chat. I was
But
okay.
yeah, um as they sort of as they sort of get closer and closer, it eventually gets to the point to where Val and everyone has some unease, because all of a sudden they're asked, "Do you have any live animals on your ship?" And the rest of the party goes, "No, we don't have live animals. Why would we have live animals?" And as you guys get up there and sort of like start to look around and see what is going on, you begin to see like there's people here, but there's also like pigs, cows, sheep. At somehow they were collected and brought here. And I believe I remember Val being the first one to go like, you know, I don't want to be on this ship. For some reason, he just didn't want to be on the ship. Um, but they do eventually get off of the ship.
I want you to speak into the mic.
They do eventually get off of the ship.
The worst
And
one.
does
Okay.
do you have any thoughts on that? Do you have any thoughts on that, Val?
I am.
Oh, wonderful. Do you have any thoughts on entering the ship city?
Oh yes. It was, and from what memory was, I was immediately suspicious because where did they get all the livestock?
I don't know. Where did they? That's crazy. Um, I distinctly remember after you guys weren't told about the livestock, like you guys said you didn't have any like fresh livestock on your guys' ship. I distinctly remember you guys getting off the ship, and the guy screamed, yelled out to you guys, "We'll be willing to trade if you have any livestock." Or do you remember what else he offered? You remember what he
Yes,
offered?
actually.
Do you remember what he offered, Val?
He offered some meat.
Well, do you remember what he asked you guys, if you didn't have any fresh livestock, what else you could provide them for a severe discount and possibly some items?
Oh, yeah, it was worded so weird, which started ringing Val's investigator
Mm-hmm.
skills was if we had any virgins to offer.
Yeah, virgins.
And it was, which Val immediately picked up on when they were referring to the livestock
Mm-hmm.
as
Yeah,
such.
virgin livestock. What's wrong
And
about that?
I forgot what I rolled, but it was really high on my perception and investigation. And I think I snuck around for a bit. Didn't I sneak around?
I think it was you and Verici.
Yeah, and we came across and came to the realization that it was cows, correct?
It was
Or
cows, pigs,
pigs.
and sheep.
Yeah. That the animals were human beings that were true polymorphed?
Well, yeah. So they were they were mass polymorphed and then true polymorphed once they were mass polymorphed. And essentially, the way you guys figured that out is because the true polymorph hadn't set in yet. And so the people that they had killed before the true polymorph became permanent, basically, you guys saw the inside were bleeding, and Val could almost immediately smell the human blood coming off of them. But yeah, they see that disgusting display on the ship, and they immediately run back to the ship after some meat was just plopped onto the ship. And Tat, being the chef that she is, she very much was like, "This smells off and weird. I don't know why."
Oh, Hell's Kitchen tat.
Oh yeah, she was like, "This smells wrong and off, and I don't know why. I'm not enjoying this consistency." Essentially,
Yeah. Val did not, even though he wanted to, he did for his own lycanthropy reasons, but did not partake in the meats.
yeah. No one partook in the meat. Like, Kat tried to cook it up a little bit, but as she was cooking it, she like smelled it, and she like sort of like ripped off a piece and like sort of like nibbled it and then spit it out. And she immediately rolled like an insight check on what she was eating, and I was like, "You're eating human." And she,
Yeah.
yeah,
Ew. That was when Verici and Val were doing their little
hmm,
investigations at the same time. So all parties came to the realization, except for the dear captain. He had to be told.
yeah. All parties
And
came to the realization, and then you have Val and Verici that jump back on the ship and say, "It's human," and then Tat's like, "Yeah, we already know."
yeah, and we are like, we need to get out of here amicably. No fighting, no nothing. Let's just nonchalantly be like, okay, thank you. We gotta be going now.
And they see the ropes that are still attached to their vessel from the big, huge vessel, and the people look over and say, "Where are you going? Why are you leaving so soon?"
Yeah, and we got things to do, places to be, evil to slay, vegetables to find, no people to eat, and we need to go.
"No, why don't you stay?"
We couldn't possibly, and we couldn't possibly, interpose on you guys. Like you've been so hospitable to us so far. We need to get back on our quest and figure a way out of here.
"No, I think you're gonna stay." And they immediately ring a loud bell, and a couple of them jump onto your guys' ship. Initiative is rolled, and you guys begin fighting these druids because they all wild shape at the same time. And you guys,
Into sea life too, like big ass sea life.
it was a mixture of sea life, and there was a couple of like land sharks.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, sea life, like
Mm-hmm.
big ass crabs, an octopus,
Mm-hmm. Um,
uh, some
one
sort
of
of
them
like
became
shark.
a whale and started like nudging into your guys' ship, trying to topple it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, eventually, like the head druid, the arch druids of the ship enclave, we'll call them, basically jumped their way down to the your guys' ship, and I remember the main druid chick that was like the head of this sort of, she was the captain of their ship essentially. She looked at you all and she said, "I still give you permission to stay if you choose. Of course, just once a week, one of you will have to be a new virgin."
Yeah, and that we were like, we're flattered, really, but we no, no,
Well,
don't
alrighty. And as soon as you guys say no, she throws out a very powerful acid spell at you guys, coating your ship and you in acid. Your ship and the party takes damage. And I'm pretty sure this is the first time like they T contributes in combat. And
Oh, you mean shoots me with lightning again?
so, well, this would be the first time he shoots you with lightning. because this is the first
No,
yeah, this would
that.
be the first combat with T.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is the first combat with T. So
Oh yeah, the
T
first offense.
yeah, T kind of looks at Val and says, "Val, you're in my dodge this," and he slings out a powerful lightning spell. Mind you, T has not he's seen Val shift a couple of times, like once or twice. So T is still caught off guard by the werewolf effect, especially after he saw another werewolf kill his his essential father figure in the Feywild. So there's a lot to unpack there. But T lets off a lightning bolt that does, I think because you failed your deck save, it dealt 36 damage to you.
That's because I wasn't at the high enough level to get the boosted augmentation.
Oh, you poor guy. It's almost like you had two paladins. Too bad. Stand next to a paladin next time. Um,
GPS. I'm supposed to be up there fighting.
well, stand next to Verici next time. But as this happens, all of a sudden, uh T realizes what he did, and he's like, "Oh, sorry." And then the druid gets an idea because she sees T does that, and she's like, "Interesting," because I want to preference the player, Val, Mr. Worst One over here, looks me dead in the eye and says, "I haven't been touched once this entire combat." I'm like, "Really? Let's change that real quick."
Yeah,
And
while he
immediately I cast a 5th level call lightning on his ass, and then all of the other druids that go after the archdruid immediately all do a an attack of some sort, or if they're in their druid form, no longer their animal form, they also do a call lightning on his ass.
yeah, because the best one is actually the murderous one and is a bad friend. I just want to throw that out there.
Next time, don't tell the DM you weren't touched in combat.
It
Um,
was above board.
it was above board, but you said it in the middle of combat. But
Oh,
anyway,
this is awesome. For the first time, I'm playing my character the right way and I'm not getting downed in combat. And my DM went, bet.
literally, I was like, really? Full send, lightning.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
because he's a dick.
essentially, they had a very bloody and actually surprisingly strong battle against these druids. It was surprisingly back and forth for a while because of the arch druid and their wild shapes. Like they were dealing damage, but the druids would just wild shape as a bonus action, and then basically have all their hit points back because of them wild shaping. And the other druids that ran out of wild shapes would then start slinging spells, and I casted Cone of Cold, I cast Wall of Fire, I cast Call of Lightning, or Call Lightning, and I was just slinging spells at them. Tat was on the other end healing with healing spirit, and she was also casting lightning spells at them. And then you had T on the other side that was just like heal, 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 just trying to keep everyone at full HP because he was like, "This is all I
I
can do."
I believe this is the moment when our beloved captain used his crown.
Yes, this was the first time because he used prismatic spray.
And he
Uh,
used no, he casted fireball on the floating ship thing and set that bitch ablaze.
no, it was prismatic spray because prismatic spray can do does fireball damage,
Oh
and
yeah,
he hit them 8 times, and he sent them all at the ship.
that's right. And
Yeah,
we got to realize like, oh, this could be a problem.
yeah, this was the first time the crown had activated in combat for them all to see, and they see the captain like a gem turn to dust on the helm, and immediately a spell of 7th level prismatic spray shoots out, and this beam of rainbow light sprays onto the ship, dealing a ton of damage to the ship all at once. And all the druids look at it and see their ship begin to sink, and they have to retreat back to their ship so they can fix it, and they basically that's how they escape. Like they didn't canonically, those druids are still alive. They didn't go down. They just got away.
Nope, they're dead. We choose to believe they're dead.
But they got away from the cannibal druids, and then all of a sudden, the water orb, the devastation water orb, sort of like falls out of whose ever bag was holding it, and they see it roll to the edge of the ship, and it begins to fall into the water. And then that's when Tat casts telekinesis on it before it falls, and she's able to grab it and telekinetically lift it up and sort of lift it back onto the ship. But as she does that, she can feel like resistance as if it's being magnetized in a certain direction. And she kind of like, instead of like putting it back where it was on the ship, she kind of just holds it and she gently lets it guide her hand. And it begins to like almost like a compass point a direction. And it begins to softly like blink this sort of like eerie blue light. And it eventually starts to slowly lower her hand. Like she can still feel it on her, like in her magical grasp. But the ball goes underwater and wants to go even further and further underwater. And Tat turns to Val and says, "I'm sorry, ship, descend." And Val immediately starts to regret life choices.
Yeah. I believe I looked at her and went, "Please no."
And
And she
that's
just
when the
went,
ship begins
she
to
just
descend
went,
again.
she just shook her head and said,
She said, "So sorry. I'll make you something extra sweet. Not out of that meat, but we'll chum the waters with it and get some fish." But they eventually descend into the ocean again, and the ship begins to swim down faster and faster, almost as if like the orb itself is guiding them. And eventually, T and I believe it was you, T and Val have this idea of like, if the devastation orb is so powerful, what if we just affixed it to like the head gems of the ship and see if it can sort of like autopilot them there. I'm pretty sure that
"Yeah."
was you and T. Very, very begrudgingly, you agreed to it because T had just lightning shocked you up the ass, and T was like, "I'm really sorry. You're so big, and I can't really bend it around you, especially when you're wearing armor like that."
I still haven't forgiven him.
Yes, you have. Um, But anyway, T and Val work on affixing the orb to the gem, and it takes them a solid couple hours underwater. And as soon as they do, they kind of step back, and then they begin to see all the gems begin to glow. Do you remember what happened next?
I do not.
Okay, so the gems begin to glow. The ship begins to slowly start to speed up. And then, almost in one full motion, it goes fully ludicrous speed. And the ship just takes off underwater as if there's no longer any sort of water resistance. And it is just flying fast. Like they have to grab onto the edge of the ship and grab some ropes to hold on to the ship. They have Toph who is holding onto the steering wheel. His body is fully horizontal while steering the ship. Tat is in the
Yes.
kitchen, just holding everything down in the kitchen with her telekinetic powers, just keeping everything where it is so they don't lose any precious rations. They have Olma that's holding onto the cannons, Varici that's holding on to some other cannons, Val who is just trying to hang on for dear life, like a full on
I
like
think
scared
I think
cat.
yeah, I think I made my claws come out
Mm-hmm.
and I dug
You
them into
held
the
onto the
steam
crow's
board.
nest, like in the center of the
Yes.
ship. You were holding on into the center of the
Mhm.
ship. T
Yeah.
was like losing his grip, and Lanestra grabbed T and basically put him in front of her, and she grabbed onto him, and they slid all the way back into the captain's sort of like entryway, where Lanestra then put her hands and legs out, and T just turned around and just fully like body grabbed Lanestra and held on tight to her because she was stronger than T, and you guys were just flying through the ocean. You guys, and I think this speed happened for like a solid hour. Like at the end of it, you guys had to roll constitution checks to not have exhaustion from holding on to the ship for that long. Um,
Yeah.
so luckily most of you saved. I believe Tat and T did not save. But I believe everyone else saved, surprisingly enough. Everyone else was able to save and move on.
Mhm.
But you guys eventually make it to this underwater temple. It's huge underwater. It is like an underwater pyramid situation, and it is covered in coral and in sort of like like underwater moss and some of these like beautiful plant life, this like iridescent sort of plant life, as like you were in the deepest parts of the ocean where like light can't even shine in some spots. And I think it was Val that I said, it's hard to tell here, Val, but you can't tell if the hair is standing on the back of your head because there's another predator around you, or if it's because you're in your greatest fear. And you had to roll insight, and I don't think you got it. I'm pretty
I
sure.
did. I did, guy. You said that you are norm. I believe what you said was because I didn't know what you were asking for at the first, and you're like, normally when you're out and about, as when you're hunting, you have an unnatural sense to sense creatures, monsters, and everything. But you are the hunter. You are the apex predator in most situations. Here, right now, you no longer feel like the hunter. You feel like the prey. Like you're no longer the apex predator. And as soon as you said that, I went, oh shit.
Yeah, so you kind of look around off to the side and you see something sort of like swimming around you all. Like very slowly or like around the edges of like your vision before it's just too far for your eyes to make out before like the darkness overtakes it. You guys kind of look around. Linestra comes over with her Twilight Cleric powers and she gets dark vision up to I think 200 feet, or it's like it's either 160 or 200, I can't remember, but it's some crazy
Hmm.
number. And she kind of looks out and she sees something. It's definitely aquatic, and she's like, "There's something out there." And then this massive shark whale slams into the ship on the other side, and then you see the other shark whale that is actively coming at you guys, and it's another roll initiative moment.
Yeah.
And you guys have to fight shark whales underwater on a boat that has a energy core running out of energy, so it's starting to crack and some of the water is starting to dribble in because it's not able to sustain the damage that it's taking from those aquatic creatures, on top of the pressure from the outside water, on top of the fact that you guys hooked a devastation orb to the energy core, and it basically, like, it didn't damage it bad, but it still dealt damage, and everything on top of each other just kept stacking onto it, and it was beginning to falter. And
But long story short, we made quick work of the shark whale thingies. And then we started making our way to where the orb was essentially leading us and pulsating.
mm-hmm.
And we came
Remember what you
across, and
found?
we found the carcass of a kraken.
Yep. A fully grown kraken, not a young one, fully grown.
Carcass.
Yes, it was already dead.
Yes, that's for all those who know, play D&D or are veterans out there. If you find a dead kraken, a freshly dead kraken, that that is problematic because they used to be pets or of the gods.
Mm-hmm.
And if one is freshly dead, so that means something strong and stronger than a pet of the gods killed it,
Yep.
which means that there's something worse about.
Yeah, I still remember you guys' faces when you walked into this big open like room, like this huge like tidal temple room that had like an empty spot for this devastation orb to go. But then as you guys got closer, like all the lights started to like ping on as like the devastation orb started activating the interior of the temple, and as all these like
Mhm.
eerie blue lights began to like appear, you guys saw the shredded carcass of a kraken. It wasn't just like stabbed and like you could see it gutted. No, this thing was shredded,
Like
like it was
it
in
was
pieces.
like it was a giant creature that was clearly been through some sort of ordeal.
So, you guys eventually find that, and you find the pedestal, and I believe it was Toph that took the orb and put the orb in the pedestal, and it began to glow, and this sort of like spirit made of water and sea foam sort of like burst out from all the water pools surrounding the temple. Because inside the temple, it was completely dry. There was like it was essentially you would swim up into the temple from the doorway, and they were like these small pools, but they never overflowed into the temple. It was very beautiful. But bursting out of these four pools, they all converged together over top of the devastation orb, and they saw this miraculous snake like thing looking at them, and they saw a leviathan, and it was staring at them directly.
Yes,
Do you
which wasn't.
What was Val's first initial reaction to the leviathan?
This is it. This is how we die.
So, as they see this massive sea foam snake, endlessly long, like its body was still coming out of the pools of water that was making it, essentially. Val kind of looks around, and so does the rest of the party, and Leviathan basically speaks and says, "You have brought back my orb. You have reconstituted the water primordial. What is it you seek?"
Yeah, we were so really surprised. We thought we were food, and then it talked to us and asked us if we wanted something. And we all, after shitting our pantses, went, we totally meant to do that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Toph, since he's the one that put it in the pedestal, it was just directed at Toph, and it said, since you're the one that put the gem, the orb, in the pedestal, this request you can make at any time. Just know you have a request given to you by the water primordial that I will try to, with the best of my ability, grant for you.
Yes.
And so you all were just like, okay, so Captain not only has this super powerful helmet, but he has an IOU from a Leviathan.
Yes. And like I said, there was never more. With every session and every encounter, we never once regretted our decision making the barbarian our captain, our face of the group.
Absolutely.
Like, it was just banger after banger after banger.
Yeah, it was beautiful. But they ended up basically they all kind of said like this doesn't have to be part of the IOU, but like could you like make like an easy way for us to get out? And Leviathan said, "Well, the waves have been activated, so that should help you speed along your journey." And they kind of like see like the water around where like the Leviathan was coming from. They start to see it ripple and sort of like begin to go up and down like small little waves appear, and as they make their way to the ship and are ascend to like the top of the ocean again, um there still isn't wind, which is strange, but there are waves, there are currents coming from the ocean, the water primordial itself generating these waves and generating the ocean that is no longer still. It is now a moving ocean, and they sail their way back to Neverwinter from here, and they end up porting in Neverwinter, and they see the ocean is moving. They look around, and their hearts go out as they see Neverwinter is still in partial disrepair, but it's not broken. It's not destroyed. It's just broken. Just needs a little bit of fixing. Um,
Yeah.
but then to their horror, as they go to Neverwinter, they see people shivering and shaking. They see massive pillars of fire being built from leftover debris, and there's no heat coming from the fire. Hardly any light either, and they're massive. They are burning. They can hear the sounds of like cracking wood under the fire, and there's no heat being produced. They also look around and they start to see a lot of the vegetation, the tree lives, the grass, it's beginning to die and decay, and still there has not been a single wind blown through once. And they realize they jump started the water plane, but now they have the air, the fire, and the earth plane to deal with. And on top of that, Val in the back of his head hears Jameson say, "Do you like my new friends? Maybe you can help teach some of them." As all of a sudden, Val kind of turns in Neverwinter and he sees a bunch of fledgling blood hunters walking around as, quote, helpful guards of the city. And
Yes. Very
I
sus.
think that's where I'm going to stop with the story and the continuation for our D&D game. But Was there anything you wanted to ask me, Val, that you had
Yeah.
questions about?
Yeah, what did we do to hurt you to for you to take your frustrations out on us in such a way?
So you always ask this, and my answer is still the same. Everyone has depression and anxiety, and you guys were my outlet.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
But do you have any other questions or things that you...
Yes, where did you come up with the idea for cannibal pirate people and Waterworld kind of
Okay.
ordeal?
So, honest to God, I had just watched Mad Max.
Oh God.
So I had just watched Mad Max and I was like, they're going to the water plane. How can I combine this? And
Have you
I
ever
don't
seen Waterworld?
I have not seen Waterworld. I've only seen Mad Max. I need to
Mm.
watch it. But I just saw Mad Max and immediately I was just like, how can I combine this? Because they're not going anywhere that's dry. But I was like, it's basically a dry ocean because it's not moving. It's not generating anything. It's like there's still fish there, still swimming, but the ocean itself is unmoving. Like they have to find a way to move themselves. So I'm like, that's pretty interesting. So if they can't capture fish because all the fish are staying to the bottom of the ocean because the ocean isn't moving things around anymore, so it's not making like things float to the top or anything like that. Yeah, most of the fish are going to stay near the bottom, where it's warmer because also heat is dissipating because of the fire plane disappearing. So
Hmm.
essentially, the druids were running out of food and they had to come up with another way to make food. Well, they were using the elderly. Obviously, at first, the elderly would sacrifice themselves and say, I will become food. But to make it more enjoyable, uh, they would use true polymorph. Well, they realized this wasn't sustainable because even though the druids could create food and water, it wasn't enough. It was as if their powers were being drained in the elemental chaos because hint hint, druids use primordial magic. And if the primordial planes go kaput, what happens to druids essentially?
Exactly.
So their magic was being drained quite rapidly every time they did this. So they needed to find like a better way to sustain themselves. So they did the unthinkable. They started taking non-druids from their tribe as well as not adolescents, but teenagers and force changing them into animals. And they would raise the animals and that's how they had meat.
Which is just god awful.
Yeah.
And
So
you should be ashamed of yourself.
but the cannibal druids were really fun. I really loved throwing Viltric sphere and lightning bolts and call lightning. It was just super fun. All the elemental spells was super fun to throw at you guys. The whale sharks were really fun. Leviathan was super fun. The horror on your guys' faces when you saw the dead kraken. That took the icing on the cake though, right there. That was beautiful.
I'm
Chef's
glad we
kiss.
can make I'm glad we can make all your dreams come true.
Yeah, but did you have any other questions about that session in particular that you
Yeah,
wanted to?
did you always have the idea of like introducing primordials and like really putting an emphasis on the elemental planes, or is that something that we kind of our backstories and our choices kind of lent to this
Mhm.
trajectory, or was it just oh you always had this plan, you just needed ways to introduce it?
So, kind of a little bit of both. Toph and Lanestra's backstories both take place in the elemental chaos. That's just where
Yeah,
like their backstories come from. So they kind of had the door open for me. At any point, I
right.
could just go there and it would make sense. Really, it would make sense because they're from there, and that'd be fine. But as for like all of this stuff, I was thinking from the point of view of Vecna, where could he get the most amount of power without crossing the divine gate? Like without going to the outer planes, right this very second.
Right.
Because he just got woken up. He's getting his power back because it's been locked away in Barovia for thousands of years, generating that plane and sustaining it, and all the people inside of it, capturing their souls and letting them reincarnate over and over and over again. So, like, even though Vecna is a god with obscene amount of power, he was exhausted. Like it was
Right.
constantly draining him. So he's
Right.
exhausted. So I was like, where could Vecna go to just get basically battery packs for himself? And I was like, well, the closest planes would be the Shadowfell, the Feywild, and the elemental planes and the material plane. Well, he was like, meh, I don't want to go on the material plane. That's last year's problem. So he didn't do that one. He left a fake Gladys in the Feywild as like a spy for him, so she could do things behind the scene for him in the Feywild and kind of start siphoning the life magic from the Feywild to like help strengthen his own undeath life.
Yeah.
He did take refuge for the longest time in the Shadowfell. That is where he made his home because the Shadowfell is a twisting spire of endless that's an exact copy of the material plane, just dead. And he found a little hovel that he can make his own, and he began to resurrect his castle from bits and pieces of the broken castle Ravenloft um, that was scattered throughout all the different planes. So he began rebuilding that into his castle. And he basically told his followers, like, I need these. And he pointed them toward the direction of the elemental chaos. I need these devastation orbs because I'm going to siphon the magic out of them. And those are essentially like primordial essence. And by doing that, he like got a huge power bump, and that like really like pumped him up essentially. That got him to like where he needed to be.
That juiced him.
Literally, like it was like a straight up 5 hour energy shot that he got 4 times, which really woke him up and allowed him to do his full power again. And then he can continue with his plan. So he was just like, oh well, if those plans go bad, that just means less I have to worry about, and then I can continue with my plans because undead don't need to drink, eat, or breathe, so he doesn't care.
Plus he's a god.
Yeah, and but all of his creatures are undead, so it's like none of my people are gonna be suffering. Let's move on. Um,
Okay.
so he continues with that plan, because you guys still don't know for sure what Vecna's true plan is. You know he escaped and he's out there doing something, but you guys don't know what he's doing. Um, that is going to be revealed, I believe, in the next session. So I won't say it here, but yeah, you guys don't know what he's doing and what he's trying to build up to. But that's why the elemental planes were sort of like a lead in to like there's something very powerful going around killing primordials and taking their essential hearts of the planes and giving them and just taking them away. So luckily
Yeah.
there are two devastation orbs for each plane that were crafted.
One thing that I know, me as a player, us at the table, we were trying to figure out what did where did Jameson fit in all this?
Mhm.
There was still that lumbering detail that was just outside our grasp, and we thought that was very fun. We enjoyed that.
So Jameson, what he was doing all this, is he was obviously still back at the material plane.
Hmm.
He was up because you weren't there right at the time, and I don't think you went there until you got back from the water plane the first time. Um, but he was rebuilding the Blood Hunter temple in his image.
Hmm.
Um, so when you guys got back from the water plane, that's kind of what you had to deal with. And if you remember that session, that was really fun. Um, so because you kind of had to fight your way through the you know your old home. But anyway, he was rebuilding that. But while he was doing that, he was also trying to reconstitute his original form. Because as much as he liked controlling your brother, he would rather have your brother as like a disciple, like a mind controlled minion, than be
Right.
in his body. He wants his original body back. And so that's what he was trying to find how to get. So from the Blood Hunter uh, temple, which he was rebuilding, actively rebuilding, he eventually teleports to one of the planes of hell to try to find the source of light and renewal. The only sort of like celestial artifact, one of the few celestial artifacts to have fallen within the planes of the hells, and his goal is to capture one of them and sort of like drain or like use its own celestial magic to reconstitute his body in some way or form. And that tool, that celestial artifact, was one of Linestra's one of Linestra's vestiges, and it was her shield, if you
Oh,
remember.
yeah, yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so Linestra had been getting divine visions about her shield being encased in a pillar of ice, surrounded by a cave, like inside of a cave, and it was a pillar of ice, and it was acting like a lighthouse. Like it was constantly
Yeah.
like circling the entire plane, like its light was stretched outward throughout the entire plane. And you guys come to find out that it was the layer 5 of hell, which was one of the frozen layers of hell.
That's right.
Not the coldest layer. The coldest layer, I believe, is the eighth layer, or eighth or seventh, but it was one of the cold layers. It was the fifth layer.
Right.
But yeah, so that's what was coming up next time. Essentially, it was all those different layers of hells, and that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to get that divine artifact so he could like break it, absorb it, eat it, something. He was trying to get to it because he knew vestiges could do powerful magic. And he was like, if there's any vestige that can do anything, it would definitely be the goddess of light and uh goddess of light and renew not renewal, but it was light and I believe rebirth and I want to say redemption. So he's like,
Yeah.
maybe he could redeem his soul because secretly, Jameson didn't want to be a double. He didn't want to be a double wolf, but he wasn't going to let that stop him. Like, he had his plans, he knew how powerful he was, and he was like, I'm not mad I have these powers. I just wish it wasn't. I didn't look like this. That sort of situation. But he was definitely not a good guy at all. He was definitely bad. But yeah, any other questions?
No, no, not for me.
Cool. But yeah, I think that's all we're gonna share today in episode 7, The Still Ocean. They had a lot of fun this session, and I do want to thank you all for liking, commenting, watching, following, subscribing, all the things in between.
Yes, yes.
And please, if you have any other questions or like you have any specific questions about our campaign and like what we did and things about that, or like the rules broken and stuff like that, because I'm a very much a rule of cool DM. Like there's only so many rules that I truly follow, and that's just like the very basic ones. Like you can't cast 2 leveled spells in a turn. That's really about it. And even that got broken with a new feat, so I don't even care about that one anymore.
Also, I did have something brought up to me from our past talks, and I've been meaning to bring it up with you, but
Yeah,
I'll
you
put
keep
it out on
forgetting.
here. If everyone, let us know what you think about this little proposition. The best one. How would you feel about writing out and making a digital document on your version of the Faerun and the Unnatural story leading up to several different ones, and we can have it up on our Patreon for people if they want to use. They can play in the same realm of Faerun that the Unnaturals hail from.
So you're wanting me to die, is what you're saying.
I more like suffer, never die. Suffer. Like if you smash the fruit, you're never gonna get all. You're not gonna get more juice out of it. You're not gonna get the satisfaction of squeezing it slowly as it drips.
Yeah, I'll get on that worst one. Don't worry, because I'm going to be the one that's typing it out. I'll
No,
do
no, no.
it.
I'll help. I'll help. I'll help.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'll help.
Yeah, that is definitely something I could definitely do in the future. I will just need to make sure my pact with Vecna has been renewed.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're not doing that. No, but seriously, like, just the, rough highlights. We can, it isn't going to be immediate. Obviously, there was almost 2 years worth of gameplay and discussion and everything like that. And we got to talk with the others at the table to see if they're okay with their characters that they lovingly created and embodied for almost 2 years to be a part of. to be a part of this. Excuse me. And if that's the case, then maybe in about I don't know, a year or so, we may drop a PDF of the Unnaturals uh campaign guide thing.
Yeah,
What's it called?
it'll definitely be called something. Because I mean, it's basically like the most I'll have to add to it is just like the characters' backstories. Because the first 10 levels they were in Curse of Strahd. Let's not forget that. So they were in Curse of Strahd. So there's not much I can add there other than how I manipulated Curse of Strahd into being a lead-in for Vecna. So could
Yeah,
like,
but you can add like it can be
mm-hmm,
like a you can play like other people can we can make it to where like
mm-hmm.
for other people to take control that they can
I mean,
play and
I
be a
will
part of the
definitely.
Unnaturals and play as their own character or part of the Unnaturals and work alongside of the NPCs, which would be the original Unnaturals, and through their harrowing thing through
I mean,
the
I
realms and
think,
Barovia and stuff like that.
yeah, I definitely think if we do something like this, it will be a document detailing the events of the Unnatural, similar to what Critical Role did for Vox Machina and everything like that, how they created their world after like Vox Machina saved the world. That's kind of where their first book takes place at. It's like, come do your own adventure in our own world.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
After with the legendary heroes of Vox Machina already established there. So it would definitely be something along those lines of like you guys have already like done your super legendary hero thing and
yeah, and
everyone's
save
there
the
is just
world for
there.
now. Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Maybe you guys if you guys do your own D&D game within the worlds of the Unnaturals, you guys could release Vecna again.
Yes, and if this is just future plans with how fast the channel has been growing and everything, and we're almost there. We have a stretch goal to meet uh 10,000 subscribers, and we're trying to make this a thing. And if we can have our audience, our fans, everyone that supports us, if we might even start up a Kickstarter to fund this. Who knows? We're it's still in this is just beginning talking right here, and we'll keep all you guys posted on what's to come and what we decide on and everything like that. But I really would love to see like our group, the Unnaturals, have interacted and changed, and in your version and interpretation of the Forgotten Realms in your own special way, and to have it out there for other people to play in this world and like how they interact. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I
You'd be
mean,
able to release your pantheon that you
God, my
rigmarolled
pantheon
with, and
constantly changes
yeah.
like the wind, but you know, sometimes
Yeah,
I go back to the old faithful ones.
yeah, but I mean, like, the newborn god of hope and
Mm-hmm.
like just, that kind of stuff. I think that it would be really fun.
Yeah, definitely could do something like that and work on it. That sounds fun. But yeah, I think that's where we're gonna stop it for tonight. Because if you don't have any further questions, I I don't want to share anything else that could happen in the future. So you can go ahead and lead us out if you want.
Absolutely, guys. Please, thank you for all your guys' support and literally cannot thank you enough. Please, we're still trying to grow. We're trying to make this thing. Our dream is for this to be our full-time job so that we can improve, make better content, improve our videos, do live events, stuff like that. We're really trying to make this thing grow, and we could really use everyone's help. And if it's something that you guys want to see and you guys want to experience, please support the channel. The Unnaturals Gaming on Twitch, the Unnaturals Game. Follow us on Facebook, our Patreon. If you feel generous, donate even just $1 will help us out so much. We have an Instagram, a TikTok. Also, uh, you know, please, any future content creators out there that want to just, even if you're just making content just for yourself or videos or whatever you want, please, yeah, use our affiliate link for Streamlabs Ultra. It is legit the best, in my opinion, and in the best one's opinion, streaming platform that you can literally customize and make your own, and it just looks and feels amazing. And we cannot stress that enough. You can do so much with it. And if you do want use our affiliate link, thank you so much. And please send us your first video so that we can see what you've created and how amazing and creative our audience is. And also, I just want to be a little selfish here. We are open to sponsors. Please sponsor us, anybody.
No. Okay. We don't need to be that crazy. But
Listen,
yes.
I'm the worst one, so I can be that crazy, okay?
All right. Why don't you go sign your soul over to Jameson again and see if he'll kill one of your siblings?
If he pays me enough, I just might. But if that's going to be it, then, we thank everybody for your support, your love and support. It's truly amazing. We never thought that we would even be up this high or this far along. And it's truly a wonderful thing to feel and to see. And it literally it puts the wind under our wings and encourages us to soar higher and to reach higher goals. And it's all thanks to you guys, and we can't thank you all enough. And we're not done yet, that's for sure. We're going to keep growing. We're going to improve. We're going to get better. It's going to be something amazing. I can feel it. And without further ado, we love all you guys and have an unnatural night.
See ya.
See ya.
Rise above the fear, unchained.